My name is Emily Parker, and this is the story of how my so-called best friend destroyed my life and how I took back control. We met in college, and from day one, I thought Sarah was the sister I never had. We shared everything, secrets, dreams, even the same guy. Yes, it sounds crazy now, but at the time, I trusted her more than anyone. For 2 years, Sarah and I were inseparable. She was always there when I needed her, or so I thought. She knew my weaknesses, my fears, and my plans for the future. I even confided in her about my relationship with Mark, the guy I was deeply in love with. Then everything changed. One day, I found out through a mutual friend that Sarah and Mark were secretly seeing each other behind my back. At first, I couldn't believe it. I thought maybe it was a rumor or some kind of sick joke, but the truth was worse than I imagined. I confronted Sarah, hoping for an explanation, maybe a denial. Instead, she laughed in my face and told me I was too naive to see what was really happening. She admitted she wanted Mark because he was popular and successful, and that I was just holding him back. My heart shattered. The betrayal cut so deep that I stopped trusting everyone around me. I felt humiliated and alone. The worst part? Everyone knew except me. My social circle turned their backs, and Sarah became the queen bee. But I wasn't going to let this be the end of my story. I decided to fight back, not with violence or anger but with something better, revenge that would make her regret every second of what she did. I started by gathering evidence, texts, photos, and conversations, anything that could prove their deceit. I reached out to people Sarah had also hurt, creating a network of those who wanted justice. I planned my revenge carefully, knowing that a single wrong move could ruin everything. This is only the beginning of my story. Sarah thought she could break me, but she had no idea what was coming next. After discovering Sarah's betrayal, I knew I couldn't just sit back and let her ruin my life. I wanted her to feel the same pain she caused me, but I also wanted to be smart about it. Revenge had to be satisfying and unstoppable. First, I gathered all the proof I could find. Text messages between Sarah and Mark, secret photos, and even recordings of their late-night calls. I saved every bit on my phone and backed it up on a secure cloud drive. This wasn't just about exposing them, it was about rebuilding my strength from the ashes of their lies. Then, I reached out quietly to people Sarah had manipulated in the past, friends who had been hurt or betrayed. Slowly, I built an alliance. They were eager for justice and willing to help. Together, we planned to reveal Sarah's true colors to everyone she cared about. Meanwhile, I started working on myself. I signed up for a leadership course and began volunteering at a community center. This was not just to distract myself but to prove that Sarah's attempts to hold me back would fail. I transformed my pain into power. At the same time, I subtly distanced myself from Sarah's toxic social circle. I started making new friends who valued loyalty and kindness. The change surprised many of my old acquaintances. They saw the old Emily disappearing and a stronger, more confident woman rising. The key to my revenge was timing. I found out Sarah had an important birthday party planned, the kind of event she loved, full of friends, influencers, and the social elite. This was her moment to shine, and I knew that exposing her there would be devastating. On the night of the party, I arrived fashionably late but prepared. My allies were there too, each ready to support the plan. We had printed copies of the conversations between Sarah and Mark and screenshots ready to be shared. The goal was to make sure no one could deny the truth. As Sarah greeted her guests, glowing and unaware, I waited for the right moment. When the crowd was at its peak, I stood up and addressed everyone. Calmly and clearly, I shared the evidence of Sarah's betrayal, her lies, her manipulation, and how she stole from those who trusted her the most. Gasps and whispers filled the room. Sarah's confident smile faded into shock and horror. Some guests who had admired her now looked at her with disgust. Mark tried to deny it, but the proof was overwhelming. That night, Sarah's world crumbled. But more than her humiliation, I felt something I hadn't in a long time: peace. My revenge was not just about punishment, it was about reclaiming my life and dignity. This is not the end. The final part will reveal how Sarah tries to retaliate and how I put an end to this toxic chapter once and for all. After the party, Sarah's life spiraled out of control. The humiliation she faced wasn't just social, it affected her work, her family, and her so-called friends. Messages stopped coming, invitations disappeared, and the queen bee was dethroned. But Sarah wasn't someone who accepted defeat easily. A few days later, I started hearing rumors she was trying to sabotage me, spreading lies about me at work and on social media. She wanted to drag me down with her. Instead of panicking, I stayed calm. I had prepared for this. I documented every message, every false claim she made. I contacted my HR department at work with evidence, making sure they knew the truth before her lies could take root. route. At the same time, I posted my own story online, not in a mean or bitter way, but as a message of empowerment. I shared what I went through, how I overcame betrayal, and warned others about toxic friendships. The post went viral, gathering thousands of supportive comments and messages. People from around the country reached out, thanking me for my courage. Sarah's attempts to ruin me backfired spectacularly. Her online attacks only made me stronger in the eyes of others. My reputation grew, and so did my confidence. I began new projects, made new friends, and finally felt free from the shadow of betrayal. One evening, Sarah reached out to me, not with apologies, but desperate pleas to talk. She wanted to fix things, to explain herself, to ask for forgiveness. I listened, but this time, it was different. I told her forgiveness was possible, but only if she truly accepted responsibility and changed. I set clear boundaries and made it clear that our friendship was over. That conversation was the final closure I needed. From that day forward, I chose peace over pain, growth over grudges, and myself over toxic ties. Revenge, for me, was never about hurting Sarah. It was about reclaiming my power and choosing happiness. And that's exactly what I did.